Coming to a YouTube channel near you.
Well, hello and welcome. Welcome to Spiritual Street Talk with Althea Jacob. I am Althea, and I am delighted that you are tuning in to join us for today's show. Oh, and I see Brandon here and Little Twisted. Oh, hello. Been missing you, my friend. Hope everything's good. We'll talk some more. This show is an hour-long discussion about all things metaphysical, spiritual, and whatever's happening in the world today, but at a level of understanding that everybody should be able to kind of get it, right? Because too often when we talk about spiritual concepts, it gets a little esoteric, and we can't really figure out how to bring that down to earth. And what's really important, and especially today, is learning how we can become the best possible version of ourselves, be true to whatever our soul's purpose is, and find a way to have peace and joy and purpose in our life. And so during this hour, the format that I usually follow is I usually talk for maybe 5 or 10 minutes about what's been going on this week, things that are on my mind and heart. Then I do reading and get some messages from Spirit for who's ever tuned in. And the way that works is, and I don't know how it works from a cosmic point of view, I just know that it does. I said a little prayer before I started, and I picked some angel cards and oracle cards and tarot cards. And so I'll share those particular cards. I haven't really looked at them. We'll see what the messages are. And normally, one of the messages at least will kind of ring true with y'all. It'll either ring true to your heart. It'll make sense to you. It'll be like, oh, okay, there's something that I just heard on those messages from Spirit that was for me. And that shouldn't matter whether you are watching it live tonight as we're airing it, or whether you are tuned in tomorrow, next week, next year, 10 years from now, if it's still around on the internet. Whenever you're tuned in, the messages that come should resonate with you somehow if you're tuning in tonight or tuning in to get these messages. So after we do that, then I pretty much open up the format to whatever you all want to talk about that are here live tonight on the chat. So if you have a question, you have a topic you want me to talk about or tune into, then you just write that in all capital letters in the chat. And when I see that, I'll use that as my cue. We'll put it up on the screen, and then we'll see where it goes. I really want this to be as interactive as possible, because I know a lot of people have questions, right? And who wouldn't in this day and age? Things are a bit crazy out there, to say the least. And so having a safe forum of like-minded, like-hearted, like-spirited people, where there's no judgment. It's a zone where we are all a spiritual family trying to just figure out what's the best way to go forward. How can we have more forgiveness, love, kindness in our lives, in our world? And how can we be a force for good? You know, what can we do to shine our light and share our love and share our gifts and use those gifts to positively impact the lives of others, right? I think one of the nicest memes I had seen on the internet a while back was where a church leader challenged their congregation to, for the next 10 days, to just go out onto social media and use that platform to share love and positivity and goodness and encouragement and share nice comments, and just hold back the urge to say anything that was judgmental or critical, or basically anything unnice, leave unsaid. Make the effort to share that sense of love and kindness and goodness. And it was a fun experiment, and I wish more people would have taken it up. And sometimes when I see what's on social media these days, I wish that we could do that again. And, you know, what I've started doing, and it's not a hard thing to do, but I started reaching out to people that I know and just sending them a little text of gratitude of, hey, I just want to acknowledge what an amazing person you are. Or, you know, geez, you know, how you do this, you really walk your talk, and you are such a force for good in the world. And, you know, you're always cheerful despite any types of challenges that you've had to endure, and your resilience is an inspiration, right? So anybody that has touched my heart or inspired me, that I haven't made a effort to let them know, like, hey, I see you. I notice you. I notice your light. I notice your goodness. You're an amazing person. Keep up the great work. Giving those compliments sincerely from the heart, and just letting them know, and no other agenda. It's a quick little text or a quick little call to say, hey, just want to let you know I love you. I think you're amazing, and give them a few reasons why, and just tell them to have a great day, and let them know if there's ever anything that they need, that you're somebody that they should feel comfortable to turn to. And I thought, well, wouldn't that be nice if more and more people did that every day? What if we all reached out every day to 5 or 10 people we knew? Look how many friends we have on Facebook, right? Most of us. It's like, wouldn't it be really cool just to go down that list and, send a quick message or a text to somebody, just, hey, thinking about you and hope you're having a beautiful day, and just send inspiring, uplifting types of messages. I think that would help a lot in today's world. I know there was a lot going on this week, right? There was the No Kings rally in a lot of cities. There was a lot of people that, came together because they felt a certain way. And then you had people on the other side basically either making fun or saying, hey, what are you doing? And, to me, I try to hold the space and not judge anybody. And I'm like, hey, we have the right. Everybody has the right to express their opinion, whether you're pro or con. And it's important that we also understand our history, and we do our own research, and we kind of go, forward into the world, and do our very best not to jump to conclusions. There's too much going on. I keep shaking my head when I look at the politics, and it makes me dizzy, quite honestly. The politics in the US, I'm like, what is happening in this? It's so bizarre to me because it's so unlike anything that's ever happened in our history before. And I'm like, okay, well, buckle up. It's going to be an interesting ride. And even more important during this ride, so to speak, is that people that are more spiritually oriented, people that are dedicated to being a force of positivity and good in the world, people that have chosen a conscious path of service to others, we need to shine our light. We can't get sucked into the drama, trauma, crazy contention, and get into it where you have these crazy discussions and people are getting really hot and bothered about it. And it's like, no. We have to hold that peace. We have to hold the vision of what we want to manifest for our country, for our lives, just like we manifest for ourselves, for our family, for our jobs, for our loved ones, right? We look at what do we want. We don't get stuck and lured into trying to describe what we don't want. We are focused on what are the steps we need to take to get us closer to that being the most empowered person we are, the best possible version of ourselves that we can be. What are the things that we need to do to get there? If every day we make another step, make another decision, say things, visualize things, work little by little in that direction, eventually we get there. So the challenge is, for many of us, there's not a lot we can do as an individual to affect the entirety of what's going on in our country or in the political situation right now, other than vote when we get a chance to, express our opinions, and reach out to our legislative leaders that are supposed to be representing us, right? Our congressmen, our senators, people, our assemblymen, anybody, right? Mayors. You reach out to the people that are supposed to be your representative and make sure they at least know, this is what I think, this is what I feel, and this is what I hope you will consider, as you are executing your duty as a representative of the people. But on an internal level, we can do a lot to hold that view of peace, of reconciliation, of after the turmoil, how do we all come back together? And rebuild the bridges that got burned and start to see each other with a sense of respect and love and admiration. And, the word tolerance is bandied around. And I really hate that word tolerance, because tolerance means I tolerate you. Well, if I tolerate you, I'm judging you. I'm assuming you're not as good, but I'll put up with it. It's a horrible word. It's like, no, I don't want to just tolerate the people and have tolerance for people. I want to have a healthy respect, admiration, love for my brothers and sisters that are going through this journey with me. People, my fellow journeymen on this ride of life that we have on this side of the veil, right? So I think that if we all take the time in our prayers and our meditation to very proactively send out love, proactively send out energy. Hey, Roger. Hey, Benna. Thanks for joining us tonight. If we actively send out good vibrations and we hold the truth, our knowing that things can be better, that things can work out, that it doesn't have to get worse before it can just start to heal and get better. If we, more mass of people, hold that truth and see that vision, that's what's going to make all the difference. That's what's going to help us get there that much faster. But if we get sucked into the little quicksand pit of the drama, the trauma, the injustice of it all, and really get, mudslinging and, hate speak and criticizing and making fun of each other and calling each other ignorant or stupid or whatnot, all this stuff that's going around, it doesn't help anything. It hurts, and it actually prevents some of the healing. I remember a while back, there was a social experiment done, and they got people from all sides of the political spectrum and put them in a room and said, talk about your grandkids, talk about your families, talk about everything except politics. Just get to know each other. What is some sport that you like? What hobbies you have? What things bring you joy? What kind of music do you listen to? And after an hour or so of them all sharing and getting to know each other, it was only then that they were supposed to reveal, what their political party was. And it was amazing that without that label of whatever the party was, that they were able to see each other as fellow human beings. And they had so much in common, and they liked a lot of the same music, and they liked a lot of the same sport teams. And they felt the same way about spending time with their kids or their grandkids, or they liked certain games or certain foods. And they realized, oh my God, we are more alike than unalike. And yet a lot of the political leaders on either side of the fence will make you think that the other side are like these aliens that are so radically different and want to destroy your way of life. And meanwhile, your way of life, their way of life, is probably very similar if you were just strip away all the political trappings, the political trappings, and just be people, communicate, man to man, woman to woman, man to woman, doesn't matter, kid to adult. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? And leave the political labels at the door. You would realize that we're so much more alike than we are different. Now, that doesn't serve the leaders that want to keep us fractioned, because that infighting causes a lot of leverage for people in power and makes a lot of people too much money. And our systems become so greedy. So one of the things we can do is just in our own minds and hearts, say our prayers, in our meditations, in our visualizations. We need to be those beacons of positivity and see the reconciliation and happening. View each person as an individual, like a member of your family. I don't care what their political hat is that they're wearing, Think of them as your grandpa, your mom or dad, your aunt or uncle, your brother, your sister, your niece, your nephew, your cousin, your grandkids, right? Think of them that way first, and then interact, and give them the grace and the love that you would extend to a good friend or a family member, instead of assuming the worst right off the get-go. I think if more and more of us can do that and hold that space, it's going to help to precipitate the healing. All right, so those were the things that's been on my mind and heart this last week or so. So the cards that it shows today, the very first message from Spirit is the card, the ocean. And it says, the deep blue sea speaks to your soul, healing and soothing you. Even the act of imagining yourself being in the healing womb of the ocean can bring about the desirable effects. One of the things about ocean right now, of course, there are some hurricanes brewing in the Atlantic anyway. And you think about the ocean as this beautiful place for refuge, and it can also be a source of great destruction. And it's such a wonderful metaphor for us of how are we going to live our life? Are we going to be that balm, that refuge, or are we going to be a force for destruction? And we have that choice, my friends. We absolutely can make the decision of how do we want to be in the world? What's going to be our legacy? Are we the great healer or the great destroyer? What do we want for ourselves, for our family, for our friends, for our community? The next card that I chose was receptivity. And this oracle card says, pay attention to your creative thoughts, open your psychic senses, and receive direction from Spirit. Listen to the ideas that others will offer you. This is a time to be approachable and friendly. Receptivity. So that's sort of what we were talking about earlier, right? Be receptive to see how do people feel and how do they think and what's going on in their world. I love Stephen Covey had a series once called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the habits is seek first to understand, then be understood. And the other one he had is begin with the end in mind. And there's 7 of them, but those 2 always stuck with me. Because if you begin with the end in mind, that's manifesting, right? What do we want? Got to be clear on that. And then that will inform all of our decisions, our actions, the steps we take. Seek first to understand, then be understood is a way that you can make sure you're hearing and knowing what's going on for that other person. And then from that place of knowledge, which is also powerful, then you can share your thoughts and make your case for whatever it is that you're doing. But if you just try to beat them over the head with, this is what I think and this is what I feel right off the bat, it's going to be very difficult to ever have that sense of connection with somebody. The next card, it's one of my favorites, guys, kindness, right? And the angel card of kindness says, in order to be kind, you must open your heart to the gentle qualities of caring and compassion. First, be kind to yourself, have reasonable expectations, and give yourself due praise. In order to, in order to nurture the gentle qualities of kindness, cherish yourself. When you do something for yourself, you automatically extend that same energy to others. Kindness will melt the barriers of ice around people and re-empowers anyone who is afraid. So reach out to the lonely, draw out the shy, include those who feel isolated, and comfort the sad. Your rewards will be a sense of inner peace, warmth, and love. You can use the affirmation if you want. I am kind to myself and others. Kindness, I can't speak enough about kindness. It's not a hard thing to do, and it can really make somebody's day. And sometimes you don't know how just that little bit of kindness, that kind word, that kind thought, that kind deed, how much that can lift somebody. This morning I went out to get a package UPS had delivered. And when I opened my door, there was a little Halloween pail with some decorated cookies and a card and some little decorations in it. And it was from the young women's group of our church. And it said in there, we just wanted to let you know you are not alone. And I swear I almost started crying. I was like, oh my gosh, that is just so sweet. And, that these young women took the time to put together these little Halloween cheer baskets, if you will, and deliver them to the single, the widowed or the divorced or the single women in our parish, in our community. And I was like, wow, I'm getting all choked up about it now because it just touched my heart. And I'm like, maybe they have no idea, maybe they were going through the motions and it was just a project that the young adult leaders of the church said, oh yeah, let's do something nice. And they brainstormed and they came up with that. But it really made a difference. And it's okay, this is going to sound strange, but it's rare that I'm on the receiving end of those kind acts. Honestly, I devote my life and my energy to being kind to others. And I don't know if I just don't let people know when I need something or not as much as maybe I should. And, a lot of us are guilty of that, right? We're tough. But yeah, it was really, it made my day. I took until I saw this card of kindness that popped up again. It's like, yeah, you just don't know when there's somebody that's sitting there and it'll take their breath away in a good way. It'll bring tears in a positive way to say, hey, you know what? Somebody knows I exist. Too many people out there feel alone right now. I'm a very empathic person. I think when you're a psychic and a medium, that comes with the territory, right? Because we're tuning into energies all the time. And many of you are the same way, right? You can feel when there's loved ones that are in pain or people that that you just get a sense like something's just not right. You may not know exactly what it is, but you know that there's something going on. And just the fact that you care and that you care enough to reach out and do a little, a phone call, that random act of kindness. I had another act of kindness. I had one day, I'm sitting in my house and I hear my trash bin being brought in from the curb. And where I live on the farm, my trash bins stay in the back by a workshop on the other side of the house. And so you have to bring them from around the house, around the front of the house, and down a long driveway to the end of the street and leave them there. And so I just had this one neighbor that was driving by, and he said, oh, I saw your empty bin out there, and I thought I would bring it back for you. He didn't have to do that. But I was like, oh, that is so thoughtful, and it was like, okay, you get brownie points today, my friend. Talk about doing those random acts of kindness. So challenge yourself of who can you reach out to? Who do you know of that might be alone, that might need a little help? In the northern parts of the U.S. right now, the leaves have changed and they're starting to fall. And it's like, well, who might need to have their leaves raked and up? Or who might have tree branches down after a bad nor'easter or a storm that's there? Just offering a tiny bit of help, have a half hour, an hour, or if you're just driving by. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened to my internet there. Apologize for that little glitch. But anyway, my point is when you're out and about, be spontaneous, right? The kind words to others. You see some short person that's in the grocery store struggling to reach something on a higher shelf, offer to get it for them if you happen to be tall enough. If you see somebody that's handicapped riding in one of the carts and they're trying to get something that's in the refrigerator section and it's not very easy to manage opening the door and whatnot when you're sitting in one of those handicap carts, right? Maybe you offer, hey, is there something I can get for you there? Just being aware of your circumstances, if you have your intention and you say, okay, I just want to be helpful. I want, Spirit, use me to brighten the light, to ease the burden of people that are there, to be a source of a little bit of joy, to lighten their loads, to let them know they're not alone, that they're seen, that there is help available. Any of those little things, if you put that out as your intention, trust me, you will find yourself in situations where you can help other people. And people will pop into your mind. And you'll be like, oh, I should send this one a quick text, or I should pick up the phone and give this one a quick call. And even if you just get their answering machine, maybe that's even better. You don't have to, wind up in a big, long conversation, but you could just say, hey, I was thinking about you. You were in my mind, on my heart, just wondering how you're doing. Just want to let you know how much I love you and care about you, and, what an amazing person you are. And I really hope that, things get better and better for you, because I know you've been struggling gracefully, silently, but I know you've been having a hard time. And, I'm so proud at how you've handled yourself with such grace and dignity and, and resiliency to come through this, that you really walk your talk, and you're such a shining example. You're a great mom, or great father, a great friend, a great church member, an example, somebody who walks their talk. Right? Any of those kind of messages, or whatever pops into your mind and heart to say to that person. I tell you, if you are on the receiving end of something like that, you will know firsthand how it can totally shift your energy and brighten your day. And it doesn't take a lot to do, and it makes you feel good when you're the one doing that for somebody else too. So I challenge you all to think about that this week, as part of our mission and our cooperation of trying to set the tone and be that force for positivity in the world. So yeah, we can sit here and visualize and know what we want to manifest, and we can pray and send energy. And sometimes there's actual actions we can take that will make a difference in other people's lives. And embrace those opportunities when you get them. Seek them out, especially if you have a little time, because it will make your soul feel good as well, and help you not feel so overwhelmed with the challenges that you're facing. I feel it, the heaviness that so many of us are dealing with out there. We are empathic. We do care. It does matter to us. So when we get to this next couple of cards here, the messages, it's like, okay, what have we been dealing with? The Tower. The Tower is radical change. It's the feeling of being out of control and having chaos happen and not knowing where we're going to wind up on the other side. And then we get to the Ace of Cups that says, hang on there. There is a new day dawning. After the craziness of the storm, there is a rainbow, right? There is a new day dawning where we will find that nourishment, and we find the spiritual strength and the knowledge and wisdom to go forward. And the last card reminds us that we have to be in balance. The Ace of Pentacles, when it's upside down, says, your most important job right now is do whatever it takes to keep you in balance with the 5 aspects. Your money and toys. Make sure you are financially solid, that things are okay, that you're not getting stressed out of your mind because you can't pay your bills, right? Your health. Make sure you're doing the things that you should. Eat properly, exercise, get fresh air, get enough sleep, drink enough water, hydrate, right? That's these days, everybody's realizing like, oh my God, I got to drink more water. Speaking of, let me have another little sip. And then relationships, right? We have to be in balance of our relationships. It can't be so one-sided. There can't be everybody, one person's the giver and the other person's the taker. There has to be this sense of reciprocity, and I give a little and then I take a little bit, and I'm there for you and then you're there for me, right? Spirituality is one of the 5 factors of where we need to have balance. What are we doing to refresh and recharge our spiritual battery? For some of us, it's being in nature or being around puppies or kittens or babies, right? Or other people, they enjoy listening to music or dancing or writing, meditating, taking a bubble bath, getting a massage. I don't care. There's no judgment, whatever it is that floats your boat and recharges your energy. Those are the kinds of things that matter, that help you feel like you are connected to something greater than self. And then the last aspect is time. How do we balance our time? That work, rest, and play. So as we go forward, if we are feeling out of balance because of all of the contention and craziness and stuff that's happening in the world around us, the best thing we can do is withdraw a little bit and make sure we get ourselves into balance. Because as I shared last week, if you go out into the world out of balance, bad things happen, right? I think I shared with you, I had some contentious interaction with my ex-husband. And he basically told me to take a hike and take him to court to get money that he owes me. And so I was not very happy with that. And in fact, I was really quite PO'd. And as I'm going through my day, as you all know, I'm a pretty positive person, right? I'm trying to manifest goodness and be that, shine that light, share that love, do all that good stuff that I'm always encouraging y'all to do too. And I was just so PO'd that I had a scooter accident. I just wasn't paying attention. And then I think I showed you last week, I'm pretty healed up now. There's only a few little bruises left in different places, but I got pretty banged up. But it was a good learning lesson and reminder, like, no. You can't let the negativity in. You can't function well when you're out in the world if you're out of balance. So taking the time to do whatever you need to clear your energy, take a shower, smudge, chant, whatever, burn a candle, visualize, call for help, ask for help, do whatever you need to get yourself back feeling in balance and working on those aspects. So you feel like, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm pecking away at it and I'm working in the right direction. Those are the things that are going to help as we get out into the world to help create that sense of peace that we want as we go forward. And then I opened up the book, my book of channeled writings that had come through from Spirit. And it actually opened up to one that I don't think I've read in a very long time. And it's called Splendor. The scent of the honeysuckle fills the air, portending the beauty of spring about to unfold. Its sweetness is a blessing as it wafts through an open door or window. If you won't come out, I will come into your soul like a sunbeam penetrating a cloud-laden sky. I hear the longing of your soul and remind you to shine and fill the world with your brilliance, just as I fill the corner of mine with a pleasing fragrance for all who are near to enjoy. This particular channeled writing came through when I was at a friend's house in Connecticut, and I was there for a visit, and I literally was smelling this beautiful smell coming in through the screen door of the guest room that I was staying in. And I thought, wow, what is that? And I looked out and I saw it was honeysuckle. And like that channeled writing just poured into my brain, and I wrote it down, and eventually it wound up in the book. But one of the things that it reminded me, and it was such a great metaphor for how do we live our life, right? Do we shine only when we think there's somebody there to see it? Or do we just make it our objective to shine as much as we can all the time? Like that becomes our normal state of being. This plant, this honeysuckle bush, was always, each of the blossoms for the whole season that it was in bloom, it was sending out the blossoms and it was releasing this beautiful fragrance, regardless of whether there was somebody there to breathe it in or not. And I don't know if it knew that I was enjoying it. Like I probably should have, maybe that would be a little too airy fairy, but I probably should have stood out on the porch and sent some gratitude to the plant and said, hey, thanks for that beautiful smell, the beautiful fragrance. I didn't think to do that then. But it didn't matter. It inspired me. And that inspiration can come from anywhere. We just have to be open to it and willing to act upon it and be that force that acts upon others in a positive way. So I remember one of the things I loved about my brother. I had a younger brother. His name was Richard. And one of the things Rich would always do when he was working, he would literally whistle while he worked. he would be whistling away, not singing the song, just whistling some melody or tune as he was raking leaves, or whether he was vacuuming or whatever he was doing, he was always whistling. Whether he was tinkering on a car, he was a mechanic, whether he was working on something, whether it was going well or not, whether he was getting it done fast or slow, didn't matter. He was whistling. And I thought, that sense of, okay, you know what? I'm doing the work, and maybe it's hard work or physical work, or maybe I don't like it, but I'm gonna do it my way, and I'm gonna put out something joyful into the world, And so, like, it makes me smile even to this day to think of him just whistling away as he was vacuuming or raking or doing whatever he was doing. And I thought, that kind of just joyfulness that he was putting out while he was doing his work impacted me, and he's been gone now since 2006, and it's like, wow, he's been gone 19 years, and I still can remember him just whistling away when he worked, and being that bright light when he could. He had his demons too, he had his dark side, he had his challenges. I think we all do at times, right? We have that part of us that we have to figure out, how do we clear that? How do I become the best me I can be? Well, a lot of times I have to clear out the old stuff that stands in the way. I can't step into the new dress until I take off the dirty clothes and take a shower and clean off, and then I can put on the new outfit before I go out, right? It would make no sense to try to put on a new outfit on top of a dirty one, or an old one, right? Or on top of a dirty body, right? You want to clean yourself off as much as you can. And I think energetically, I honestly, I don't know how diligent I've been about it. Like, oh, wait a minute, I really have to pay attention to my energy. I have to be responsible for that. I need to make the decisions and take the actions. And I encourage you to do the same. So if you are struggling in some area of your life, if you are having challenges, ask yourself, what can I do to shift my energy? What can I do to improve my mood? Because then you become, instead of in this negative whirlpool sucking you down deeper and deeper into the abyss, or stuck in the quicksand and every wiggle gets you down further, what if each of your actions instead started to create this momentum of positivity and started clearing out the old stuff and being successful despite the challenges that are there, and looking at the blessings and finding things to have gratitude in your life for, instead of being so obsessed with what's not working. We don't ignore, I used to train dogs, right? So you don't ignore the poop on your shoe, right? But you don't obsess for days and weeks about, I stepped in a pile of poop. No, what do? You clean off your shoe. And if you want to be proactive so it doesn't happen again, you get a bucket and a shovel and you go clean up the yard, so you don't have all these little bombs waiting for you to step on or step in, right? So once we recognize what are the pitfalls, where are the places that are the metaphorical poop on my shoe, what do I need to do to clean that up? What do I need to do to prevent that from happening again? And sometimes the only thing you need to prevent that next poop episode is awareness. Why did I step in that poop in the first place? I wasn't paying attention. I don't know. Was I on my phone? Was I thinking about something else? I don't know. I just wasn't watching where I was walking. And I have a yard, and I had 6 dogs at the time, 6 dogs. 3 or 4 times a day, there's a lot of poop that's happening. You got to get out there and clean it up every now and again, or pay really close attention as you're walking through the minefield, right? So where are the places in your life that are the minefields? What are the metaphorical piles of poop that you can clean up in your life so you don't have to worry about stepping in them anymore? And if you do step in them, what's the quickest, best way to clean them off and be able to carry on without having it be something that you have to tell the next 20 people you meet for the next 20 years about the time you stepped in the pile of poop? Because that's something else that we do. We hold on to our stuff, right? It's like, don't hold on to your stuff. You don't need it. Let it go. And I think a big message of this whole time, where there's so much shaking going on in the energy fields, I think it's to kind of loosen up all the old stuff that we haven't been dealing with, so we could finally let it go, let it out, and move on. All right, so those are the messages from Spirit. So I'm going to open up the chat now to anybody who's on tonight live and would like to ask a question or suggest a topic that you would like to hear some thoughts about. Please do type that in and put it all in caps, and I will address them when they come in. Hello, Catherine. How are you? And oh yes, and thank you for anybody who is tuning in. Please make sure you send stars, click the like, share, subscribe, do all those good, wonderful social media things. And also, let's take a moment to send a shout out to Chris Grizzly, and to Mary. That they are the heart and soul behind this whole Bigfoot channel network. And for most of us hosts, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for what they do behind the scenes. And so definitely want to send a shout out to them. They're going through their own challenges, guys, right? Even these enlightened light bearers, these rangers that go and make the way from anybody else, that's out there. They are these trailblazers trying to make sure that messages can get out there, that like-minded people have a platform and a forum to get together to discuss things and to get some insights and answers. So send lots of gratitude to them. We send them lots of good thoughts, good healing energy, good mojo energy, and mostly just gratitude for who they are and what they've worked so hard to set up for us all. Okay, so I have a question here from Catherine. Okay, and Catherine says, will Richard pass the exam? Okay, so I will tell you, when I am asked a question that's that predictive, so to speak, my first instinct is like, well, I'm not a fortune teller. Did he study? Did he put the work in? Then he'll pass, right? If he didn't, he won't. Now, remember, I'm from New York originally, and so we tend to be a little direct, and so forgive me if that's not there. But what I will tell you, I did get a very positive feeling when I first read the question. I got a sense of, oh yeah, he's gonna do just fine. One of the things is when you're asking questions, the questions that come up will often be something that lots of people are thinking or feeling. And that, and so, for example, here I have Brandon. Brandon says, could I get a message from the universe specifically for you at this time? And so, Brandon, here's the good news. Yes, I will absolutely tune in to get a message for you, but you're not alone. And whoever else is listening to this podcast, whether it's live or whether it is recorded later and you're tuning in, the message that comes through for you, Brandon, is also going, just like the messages that I read here, they are going to apply and resonate with other people out there. So what I hear from Spirit for you is stop being so hard on yourself. And so this is interesting because I feel like they're hugging you and kicking you in the butt at the same time. So don't be so hard on yourself, but also stop making excuses. So it's a very paradoxical kind of feeling of you're almost being hard on yourself and using that as an excuse to kind of shut down instead of getting done some of the things that would actually help improve the situation and help you excel to incredible levels. And so don't get so bogged down with feeling overwhelmed. Step back for a moment, chunk it into manageable pieces, go for it, and start building that positive momentum. I hope that made sense. Okay, and Catherine, oh yay. So Catherine said that he did pass. So there you go. Yay. Okay, and can you ask 2 questions? Catherine, you can ask as many questions as you want. We have another 15 minutes or 13 minutes or so to the show. So whoever wants to ask a question, just type it into the chat and we will see, or if there's a topic. And Brendan says thank you. So I'm assuming that means that made sense to him. So good. Okay. So actually, I want to circle back around to you, Brandon, because I'm getting like a PS. The other thing is, don't be so hard on yourself too, right? Remember that you are loved, you are lovable, and you're a loving person. And the more that we claim that goodness and that birthright of being somebody who is a good person, and we know we're good people, will attract higher and higher quality people into our lives, will attract more positive situations. We'll still have our oopses and we'll still have the yuck to go through. But it won't be as dark and dreary. You won't feel as alone. You'll feel much more connected and positive. The lessons will come more quickly. You'll be able to figure your way out. I know I've read it at past episodes, but there was this old poem I liked a lot. And it was like my life in 5 chapters, right? And it was like chapter 1, I walked down a street and I fell into a hole. And that hole was deep and scary and dark. And it took me a really long time to figure out how to get out of that hole. Chapter 2, I walked down the street, I fell into the hole. Oh, but this hole was familiar. I remembered it now, and it didn't take me quite as long to get out. The 3rd day, I walked down the street. I recognized the hole is there, and I walked around it. The next day, I walked down the street. I helped somebody else out of the hole. Chapter 5, I walked down a different street. So we have these choices, right? And when we have these life learning lessons that hit us, the more we learn, the more quickly we learn, we can get unstuck. We don't have to keep struggling in the quicksand. And oh, by the way, I don't know if this will ever matter to anybody out there, but I saw this National Geographic special once, and they talked about how to get out of quicksand. And they said most people, they try to thrash around and they wind up getting down. What you actually should do is kind of like vibrate one of your legs, just one, just a little bit, side by side, vibrate it. And what that does is that little vibration movement creates, separates the sand from the water, and your leg then gets surrounded by the water, and you can lift that one out. And then once that's out, then you can shake and vibrate the second one and pull it out. And I was like, oh, okay. It's really simple if you know how to do it. And so that's where a lot of these challenges in life that come to us. And that's why we should help other people, because once you've been through it, once you've been in that hole, once you've figured a way out of that metaphorical quicksand, it is incumbent on you to help your neighbor, help your friend, help your loved one, right? If you figured out how to get out of there, don't make them struggle needlessly, right? Share. Now, you can tell them what to do. If they choose to do something different, that's not on you, that's on them. They just chose to make their lesson a little harder. Okay, all righty. And Brandon says, thanks. He says, it made perfect sense. Thank you so much. Thank you for the feedback, Brandon. I appreciate it. Okay, and Catherine is asking a follow-on question. Should I claim for my ankle injury at work? Okay. So this is another one of my favorite digressions. Should. There are no shoulds in spirit, right? We all have free will. We have agency. And honestly, our guides will never tell us, you have to do this. You should do that. They'll let us know what is out there that is for our best interest, what will get us the best result that we want, what will have the best benefit for all involved, right? So we can kind of look at that question, Catherine, and instead of should you claim for your ankle injury at work, what I would kind of put out from spirit is what's in Catherine's best interest as far as her ankle and her employment. And so how we ask things, and I really hear from spirit, it's really up to you. There's pros and cons. So if you were to actually sit down and make your little pros and cons list, one of the pros is, okay, so you can get some compensation and some time off and whatnot. And another pro is you will be holding the people responsible for the situation that created the potential for that injury at work, right? There is also something to be said about healing up quickly and going back to work and being that example of resiliency and loyalty. And, I'm a team player and all this other stuff, right? So there's pros and cons to either one. And so spirit's not going to tell you you should do one versus the other. It's going to basically say what feels the best to you, what feels right. So when you visualize, and for anybody that has a situation that's out there, if you're trying to visualize between the two choices, one of them is going to feel right? So if you imagine yourself, okay, I'm going to put in for the claim and I'm going to go on workers' comp and I'm going to do that. Okay, how does that feel? Does it make sense to my brain? Does it feel good to my heart? Does it ring true in my gut? Does it give me the warm fuzzies, right? That, yes, that's what I should do. Or when you visualize that, do you kind of feel like, oh man, it's going to be a pain in the ass. I don't like what I'm feeling. I don't like this gut, and my gut's going, it's going to be complicated. That those kind of situations, you're going to know what the best thing is to do, one way or the other. And, sometimes it's I've been suffering with this for a while. And, I did my best, to be the team player and muscle through it. It's like the person who, pulls their back out at work, and then, they're suffering through it for months and months and months. And they're finally like, you know what, this has been going on for a while. I just can't do this anymore. And, so they gave it their best shot because that's what felt right to them at the time. But then they also get to a point where they're like, you know what? I need to do something else right now. Oh, wait a minute. I just see you have okay. So a follow on comment. So it's a year today. It never got better. I didn't want to claim. Okay. Right. So you did tune into your intuition, and now that you're wondering again, or you're feeling, it's like, okay, so what's different? What's shifted that now it feels right for you? And just acknowledging that the question came back up and it feels right, that's your answer. Oh, okay. Spirit just kind of led you to reconsider it, especially if a whole year's gone on. Then it's like, oh, wait a minute. I guess I really need to do something else. And so your answer was there just by the progression of the timing of the facts and how things all fell in place. So I hope that makes sense. So basically, trust your own inner guidance. At the very fact that you're feeling that now is your confirmation from spirit that, yeah, you should put in that claim. Otherwise, it wouldn't have occurred to you. Oh, and thank you so much. She's telling me I'm amazing. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's actually, I'm just sharing what's coming through, but I acknowledge and appreciate that. Okay. And Diana is asking, will I get Section 8, please? I'm not exactly sure what Section 8 is, if that's housing, or in the military, Section 8. I don't know if that's something else. But if you're talking about housing, visualize yourself. Okay, so this is, again, folks, anything, will you or won't you, you want to put out, thank you, it is housing. You do want to put out, what do you want to manifest? And so see yourself in that particular apartment complex or the housing complex, see yourself moving in there, see yourself painting the walls or moving your furniture in, like just have that positivity, and also know that you are somebody that deserves the benefit that was created to help, right? Section 8 housing in different places, from what I understand, was created because in so many cities, the regular rents have gotten out of control, that an average family that has people working everyday jobs, they can't afford to live in those communities. And so the community says, okay, let's designate certain places as Section 8 housing so that people that don't have the income level to live in these other areas, they can live a good quality of life in housing here. And so feel that gratitude in your heart that is an option that's even available to you, and see yourself in it and put the process in place. It feels more positive than not as far as outcomes. But I also am hearing from Spirit, you have to do your part. You have to put in all the paperwork, stay on top of it. And you also need to do the energy part of it, of visualizing it, seeing yourself there, feeling the gratitude. I think sometimes for some of these types of support programs that are out there, that people feel bad that they need to have that or take advantage of that option. I had a client that came to me once, and she was really struggling, and she was on food stamps, and she felt so guilty and sad that she had to be on food stamps. And I was like, time out. You're a single mom, your husband cheated on you and left. You're raising 2 kids on your own. I said, instead of feeling bad that you have to be the recipient of food stamps right now, feel that sense of gratitude that you live in a society where people care, and that there is the safety net to help provide for people like you until your situation shifts and changes. And feel that gratitude instead, right? You're not taking advantage of a system. The system was designed to help people that are exactly in your situation. So have gratitude for that, and just feel that sense of flow happening in the universe. Okay. So that's my answer for you there, Diana, and keep us posted. Well, folks, I can't believe it again. That hour, this is the fastest hour on the planet for me. My whole week, it's like this hour for the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for sharing, telling your friends about us, doing all the liking, sharing, all that good social media stuff. But most importantly, I want you to have an amazing week where you are unconditionally forgiving, unconditionally loving, and unconditionally kind to yourself first, and then do your best to share your gifts and your love, shine your light, and have the most positive impact you can in being kind to others and sharing positivity, helping when you can. Just become that bright light that is so needed in the world right now. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed week, and I look forward to talking to you again next week. Until then, y'all, thanks again for joining us. I'm Althea, and this has been Spiritual Street Talk with Althea Jacob. Thanks again, and have a wonderful night and a wonderful week. Bye now.
Coming to a YouTube channel near you.